at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if
Yeah.
you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
Super empowering, you know. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout, and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. All right, welcome back, dogs. We're here again with another awesome guest, another returning guest. Melanie, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's like chilly here again out in Pennsylvania, and it sucks. I hate the fake spring, you know?
I do as well. It was so wonderful last week.
Right.
Yeah, it felt great walking outside without a jacket.
But it is nice to have the sun back out. Like every year when people talk about seasonal depression, like I think it's a joke like December 15th because the holidays are coming up and I'm like, I have that to rely on. But then when it's just the doldrums of January, dude, you're like, wow, I need the sun.
Absolutely. And every year, and I know that I have seasonal affective disorder, and still every year I'm like, why do I feel so bad? And then like one of my other therapist friends has to be like, hey, you know it's February, right?
Right.
Yeah, the holidays make it feel exciting. And then once that's over, it's just like January and February are such dull, dreary months. I'd like to tell my clients, like anybody who has the financial ability to go somewhere warm, like plan it.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to always wonder why my mom would take like vacations in January, February, and it's clicking a little bit more now as I'm becoming an adult. Speaking of that, are you a big holiday person? Do you get into the mood a lot for like the normal big holidays?
I really like baking and cooking for them. So like if for me, it's like a reason to create.
Yeah.
So it's fun for me for that. I don't love like the stress that it puts on people, but I do love like the overall like joy that comes with the holidays.
Hell yeah. I love that when you can like have reasons to just be creative, you know, like it's as you become an adult, like it's gonna sound weird to say, but you just you get to a routine where you're just not always like having reasons to do things that you just like, you know, for the sake of doing them. So to give yourself an occasion is definitely a healthy thing. But dude, we were just talking about it. You have some big news. I'd love for you to share it with your followers that are coming here and my followers also.
Yeah, so I opened my own private practice the last couple of months, and I just opened my in-person office. So I'm now accepting clients in person as well as virtually.
I love that. So tell us, what was the start of this happening? You were doing clients somewhere else first, virtually. Now you have the in person. What was the start of being like, okay, I want to do this on my own?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like the main drive was finances. Unfortunately, like most other industries, like the bigger the company that you work for, usually like the less about the workers it is. So like that's in every field, even mental health, unfortunately. And I just think that a lot of therapists don't get compensated the way that they should. So generally what happens is like before you get fully licensed, you're getting like a lesser percentage of the money that you're bringing in. And then like because the group is offering either like office space or educational pieces or supervision, that's what goes towards that. But once you become a fully licensed clinician, you should really be making like a 70% split. And that wasn't happening for me. And I was, getting a lot of my own clients on my own because I am a specialist. And it was just getting to the point where like I just really wanted to pay my bills, and I honestly didn't want to work harder.
Yeah. You want to do double the work for that same amount of like pay, you know?
Exactly. And I'm seeing less clients right now, and I'm in a more comfortable position. I would like to increase my caseload still.
Yeah.
But I'm already in a better place. So
That's awesome. And you can like utilize your brain power for more things that you actually want to utilize it for.
absolutely. I just did a free like pelvic floor somatic mindfulness workshop with a pelvic floor therapist last week. And there were like 27 people who came, and we were able to do that because I had more capacity and bandwidth.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
that's amazing. We can refine everything down to be able to give a better output to even a smaller group, you know, and then once the group grows, you better understand how to like manipulate and offer more to that bigger group, you know.
yeah.
You got to whittle down so that you can build back up. I love that.
Yeah, and now that I'm on my own, I am getting more clients within my specialty and niche
Mm,
because I'm able to market toward that more.
I
So
love it.
yeah.
Tell us, what's the name of your practice?
My practice name is Pulling Threads Therapy.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
What does that mean to you? How'd you come up with that name?
So one of my best friends, they helped me figure it out. They sent me like a list of like funny names as well as serious names to name my practice as a sex therapy practice. There's a lot of fun names that like come up. But pulling threads, I think it's interesting because in past podcasts that I've done, I've actually heard myself say that phrase often. Uh,
Wow.
it's kind of how I like to approach like my therapeutic relationship with people is in like, not every session is going to be a mind-blowing session. Like not every
Mm,
session is going to like sometimes like we sit and we talk about Love is Blind, right? Like that's sometimes just like what the week holds. Uh,
yeah.
but usually like there is like a thread that gets pulled that like over time you keep pulling it and it starts to like unravel maybe some old beliefs that we've had about ourselves or old stories that we tell ourselves that we can then
Hmm.
kind of like just unthread that and
Yeah.
create something new.
That's man, that just hit me so hard.
That's like a lot of where I've really started to take my approach with clients. I like to call myself a pleasure advocate and
Mm,
not just for like sexual purposes. We live in a society that really does not want us to feel pleasure and joy in things, right? Like that's why a lot of people do turn to substances or like eating disorders and body image issues all happen because we're just seeking some fulfillment and we forget that a lot of the things that bring us pleasure are smaller. And I think that's where like inner child work really comes in. And it's like, well,
mm.
what did you used to like to do before the world got to you?
Yeah.
And for some people,
What a deep question, you
so
know?
like, for some people, that's like, you want to go like play imagination and make believe. Guess what? There's LARPing. You can
Yeah.
go LARP. Like you
Yeah.
can do that. Nobody cares, right? Like
Yeah.
do it if it's fun.
In fact, I was just at the Arnold, like in the sports world. I'm sure you know what that is out in Ohio. And we were upstairs weighing in, and there's a whole bunch of people like taking LARPing to the next level. There was 5-on-5 like melees, like with swords, axes, all that stuff. Those dudes are really out there fighting, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and so they're like full on with it. And it's like they're walking through. Some people are probably snickering at them, but like a lot of us were like, dude, that bro's carrying a real sword. That's dope, you know, like.
The freedom to just do what makes you happy and brings you joy, like
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
it's so crazy. And you know what, too? Like back to the recovery thing, part of it, and I'm sure a lot of like people that deal with substance abuse or abuse, like of overuse in any sort of like thing that they do, is like hiding it was a big part of it. You know, the secretive, the hidden, like on the other side, the voyeur part of it, like knowing that I'm not supposed to be doing this and I'm keeping it a secret from these other people, you know, and still on the day to day. And the more you get away with it, you're like, this is bringing me even more pleasure just outside of the things that it's doing to like my dopamine system, you know, and outside of the things that it's numbing like on in the brain level, like it's affecting the other side of my brain as well, you
Yeah.
know, in all these ways.
And that makes it really difficult to live authentically. And
Yeah.
like living authentically really is the best way for us to find like fulfillment and purpose.
Yeah, I struggle a lot with like being able to like show that I'm enjoying things around like masses of people. There's a small like sect of people that I'm feel real comfortable with that around, but then like everybody else is like, oh no, even outside of just like liking things, feeling like proud of myself too,
Oh yeah.
in situations. And I think a lot of us struggle with that.
One of the things that like my clients, they'll be like, I don't want to like sound cocky. And I'm like, no, sound
Yeah,
cocky. Let's go.
right.
Like celebrate yourself. And I mean, coming from someone whose therapist was literally like, you don't celebrate any of your accomplishments. You have to slow down. I'm like, okay, but everyone else celebrate your accomplishments.
Right. You know what's something that this is way back in the vault, dude. My very first like vlog type thing. A buddy of mine, we talked about humbleness versus cockiness, right? Like, and my question I posed to him is like, hey, what do you admire more? Like someone that's humble or someone that's cocky? And then he says humble. We're like 24 at the time. This is years ago. We're like both still really, really early on in our journeys. Like, what do you like more, humbleness or cockiness? And then he says humbleness. And I'm like, he is, I don't want to call him a typical guy, but like he loves football and like idolizes all the big names, just like everybody else, that loves football. And I'm like, well, your favorite player is like Tom Brady, like, just for then that's not a humble guy, but that's
No.
someone that if you had a son that wanted to be a quarterback, you would tell him to look up to him, like so. And I just rattled down a list of names of all these big figures, and I'm like, hey, well, none of this is humble. So how are you feeling as someone that is now running their own practice and taking their own in-person clients? Like, how does that role shift? Like, how's it settling in on you?
Um, I still think that I really haven't, like my friend texted me yesterday and she's like, oh my God, like it's so cool. Like you created this office. And I was like, yeah. I just don't think I'm there yet. I think
Yeah.
I've only really seen one person in the office in person. So I think it won't really be real until like it's a day-to-day thing for me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what like being a therapist felt like too. Like it's not really real until you're just doing it.
Until you're in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like really like the biggest, I mean, it's hard because I've always been really hard on myself and I've always taken a lot of responsibility on myself. Even when I was like, working at the group practice, like I was in control of my schedule. Like I really didn't work much with the administrative person because we didn't have the best communication. Like,
Yeah.
so I've been doing a lot of the back end things on my own for the better part of a year anyway. I think it's like the learning, like, okay, like I have to file quarterly taxes and I have to track all of my expenses. And like that's nerve-wracking. Having a husband who owns a business has been helpful.
That's great.
But it's all on you. It's all on you. Like I take a day off and I feel guilty,
Mm, mm.
So
So we talked to Justin, right? And he talks about like small business ownership being in his life for like a while, right? Like
yeah.
you have been on the other side of it, like wanted to be a therapist and like give back to the people in a different way, like work with people. Was like business ownership ever a thing in your brain? Like, was that something you ever saw as a role for you back in the day?
No, and like all my therapist and my husband and everyone in my family was like, when are you going to go out on your own? Like, what is your goal? And I didn't want to do it because
Yeah.
Justin and I have been together almost 8 years. Raid is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year.
Yeah.
So like I've seen how hard it's been. Like I've been there with him when things were tough.
Yeah.
And that just like wasn't what I wanted to do. And also in my field, they're not very transparent about how easy it is to do it on your own because
They don't want you. Yeah.
they don't want you to. They want
They
to
want
make
you to
you
be
want
they
to.
want you to be the cog in the wheel and not like center on the
Exactly.
wheel.
Exactly. And it's really not that hard as long as you're not someone else's boss. So like
Mm.
becoming a company, like a business where I am someone's boss is not what I ever want to do.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to see clients on my own. I want to be responsible for myself at this point. And then I want to be able to do other types of like education or advocacy work. So like I'm very, very passionate about reproductive rights and LGBTQIA rights in the country. And like I'm very political. So like that is a piece that I would like to eventually add to, because the clinical work gets very tiring.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just grow everything that you have, like your hands in, like your influence in,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I didn't want to be a business owner, but it was just the best route for me at this point in my life.
You had like an oh shit moment yet with opening the in person? Where you're like, oh damn, I'm really doing this now. This is like riding on me.
Not yet. Not with the in-person. I think like at least a couple times a month, I'll be in session with someone. I'll be like, oh damn, like you should probably talk to someone about that. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, like they're talking to me about it. Like that happens so often. And like it's just in this field, like that whole idea of imposter syndrome is just like so prevalent.
Yeah.
Like how, my life is so like fucked. How could anybody want to take advice from me? But honestly, like the biggest thing I have to say is if you're seeking a therapist, find a therapist who is also in therapy, because
Yeah.
like the things that people are bringing to session a lot of times are things that I don't want to have to deal with myself. And now I am.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So.
What are things that you're bringing to your sessions right now? Like, what are things that you're working on for yourself or that you need to vent to someone else?
A lot of current event stuff, right? Like, and the whole idea of like taking a step back from social media, like, isn't something that, first of all, I'm able to do because I don't want my Instagram to be like a professional business page. That is like, I think that Instagram and social media is really saturated with like mental health professionals. I just want to like be able to promote myself on there and connect with people. Um, but like I don't have the luxury of not paying attention to what's happening in the world,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm talking about genocide in 3-4 sessions a week. I'm talking about inflation. I'm talking about the upcoming political election. Like I can't step away from the realities of life, because
Mm-hmm.
the realities of life are what people are bringing to me.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of heaviness there. Um, Aging, my body changing, like fighting against what like beauty standards are, what it means to like be a woman is a lot of what I see a lot of women, so it's a lot of what I work with.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of parent stuff, what
Mm.
it means to have aging parents, what it means to have complicated relationships with your parents as an adult.
Man, oh man, I want to talk about all that stuff right there. Like you just hit so many different like heartstrings with me because I mean we're around the same age. I'm going through a lot of the second half of that stuff, especially.
Yeah.
Um, Someone said to me, I think 2 years ago, that in today's world, unfortunately, we don't have the blessing of ignorance to be able to like hide behind a make believe world that like this stuff is so far away. Like
Right.
all the world's problems, they're no longer like miles away. They are probably two doors down at best.
Yeah.
Like
Even like I don't know if you've watched the most recent like documentary that came out, The Quiet on Set, Nickelodeon.
oh, I made it through a half hour.
It's
Like
hard.
I turned it off after 5 minutes, and I was texting one of my friends like talking about it already, like already vented it out before I could put it back on. Like when it came on and some of the things they were saying, I'm like, oh my God.
And it's like that was so much our upbringing. Like
Yeah,
that was what we did.
yeah,
Nickelodeon was like, Snick, Nick, like
all that.
it was all of it. And
We
so
grew up on it.
we grew up on it, and we grew up with those actors. And so it's hard to see the realities like that. And like those are the things that we were able to hide from, that now with social media, like we can't. And that's like a piece of like, I went to undergrad for journalism, and I learned that I did not like the way that media was going. And that's why
Yeah.
and then now seeing like they want to take TikTok away from us, but like that's because it's free information.
That's so crazy. And that is a whole nother thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the the Nickelodeon thing.
Oh,
It's not
man.
just people that we grew up watching. Like I remember vividly how they would treat all these people in the media after this stuff happened. And it's a much different context when you look and listen to the ways that the things they were put through as children, and then the ways that the media handled them afterwards. And 100% these same people that were covering them had to have known the things they went through because they work in the same field. So you knew the emotional trauma this person must have gone through. You know, you didn't need this documentary proven to you to see that. Those people knew that, and they still vilified all. I mean, like Amanda Bynes.
Oh,
Like you're talking about just like you talked about yourself on the last episode, like one of the young, intelligent people, creative minds, like one of the prodigy kids. She was that at
oh yeah.
8 years old, and what they turned her into. It's like, oh man, stuff that she had to go through.
Seeing the videos of her as a child and how lively and animated and talented she was. Like, I know we saw it growing up, and I know, like,
Yeah.
I loved She's the Man. Like, we all, but looking at those videos of her as a child and
Yes.
how, like, she was brilliant.
Yeah. Dude, I have my 12-year-olds that come in here for class and they can barely put together three sentences.
Uh-huh.
It's like, so what she was doing on the screens was her hard work and just her talent shining through. And a lot of that was, I mean, like cajoled through trauma. It's like, oh my God. With seeing Ariana Grande and them like cutting the potato onto her face, like everything is like sexual references, going on. It's like, oh, and hey, that's why we probably have a whole generation of people that are like have toxic relationships with sex and pornography because of things like that. I'm like, damn, I just put two and two together. Like this is what happened out in the world, That's insane. And then you talk about aging, like talk to me about how aging was presented to you as a young girl. Like I'm hearing more and more women talk about like their mothers and their aunts they would hear them saying like, "Oh my God, I see the wrinkles coming in. Oh my God, this is happening because of age." And it always had negative connotations to them. Like, tell me about that for you. Did you experience that?
Yeah. I mean, even like the getting catcalled when I was
Mm,
younger, right? Hearing like older women and my mother even being like, well, enjoy it now because it doesn't last forever. It's like
wow.
beauty fades, you'll miss getting objectified, right? I think a lot of what girls and women learn is like after 35, I mean, now it's a little bit different, but like after 35, like you're invisible, right? Like you're no longer seen as a sexual being. You're no longer seen as a beautiful being. Like you are seen as like a mother or like an old maid. Like those were the options. And that's really scary. And it's scary. Like my gray hair started coming in when I was in grad school, right? And like people get gray hair at all ages, but it was scary. And like I am not someone who, like, nothing against like Botox and injections, but like that's just not where I am right now. Like so like I'm someone who I'm going to be 33 next week, and I feel like there aren't a lot of people who are just like aging.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're always seeking like the next thing to seem younger, and like things that have been really hard are like, what type of clothes do I wear as a 33-year-old, right? I don't want to
What's
look
appropriate?
this, but
Hmm.
I don't want to look like it's boring, right? The
Hmm.
options for us are very boring. And so it's just like trying to navigate that where like I don't feel old, but I'm getting to the point now where like things aren't for me.
Yeah, most of the world's not. I mean, I'm getting older. I'll be 33 end of the year, but like I don't feel old. I don't feel youthful. I don't feel like a teenager, and I actively avoid that actually, but like I definitely don't feel old. So where do we fit in?
Exactly. Yeah, and like it's hard because it's like everything that my mom told me growing up, like youth is wasted on the young, and like you'll look back and like I hate that she was right, but like I look back on pictures of myself and I'm like, God, I was so mean to myself. So mean. And that's where a lot of the inner child work that I'm doing on my own comes in, is like that poor girl was just trying to be loved and
Yeah.
liked and desired, and like I was just so mean to her.
Oh man. So I was gonna ask you this at the end, but we just brought like your younger self up. If you could like tell your 17-year-old self, maybe not 18, your 17-year-old self, like any one piece of advice, like what would you say?
Well, she would not want to listen to me, first of all.
Same. That was man, when they say that you're young and stubborn, like it seems like you're stubborn against that too. But like,
Right.
man, I was so just young and stubborn. Like, man.
I really, truly, like at my core, I have always been the person that I am. And I think that I would just tell her that, like, someday, like, do not make yourself smaller, like, in any way, because I tried to make my voice smaller, my body smaller, everything. Like, someday, like, people will appreciate this and, like, it won't matter as much. But, like,
Hmm.
it's so hard. Like, I see my poor nephew is 7 years old getting bullied, and it's like, you can't reason with children and tell them that, like, well, the reason that these kids are being mean to you or because like there's something going on in their lives or they're jealous of
Mhm.
like, so it's hard. Like, I'm already like rationalizing, like, my 17-year-old self would not want to hear that from me, but
Uh-huh.
I guess it would be like, just like keep going, like, trust your gut.
Literally, kids are all just people trying to impress the person to their left, like there's always somebody cooler, like they're to your left, so you're just the person just passing it down, like someone's trying to impress someone a little bit cooler than them. The coolest person that has someone that they're like, oh my god, that guy's so awesome, how do I be like them?
Exactly. I posted a meme earlier this week that was like a picture of a guy like behind the steering wheel, and it was like me trying to act cool so the kids at the back of the bus don't make fun of me. And because like when I'm behind a bus, or like if I'm approaching like a group of teenagers, specifically teenage boys, like my body
it's
is like
magic.
fight or flight. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, gotta be cool.
yeah, I gotta be cool.
That you just blew my mind. I thought I was the only person in the world that got affected by the magic of the school bus.
Oh
It
my
pulls
God.
up next to me, and I'm like, okay, blast the coolest music you know. What do the
Don't
kids
make
do right
eye
now?
contact.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so funny. Literally, it drives next to you, and that you're a whole another person. Like these kids don't either. They're gonna throw stuff at me, or they're never gonna even see me.
They don't care.
It's so nuts. I think about that a lot, like how we are just all interacting with each other, literally billions of us at a time, everyone that's on Earth, like, and you could be walking down the street and thinking you're that main character, and the
Uh-huh.
person that's going to walk next to you that you've just told yourself for the past 20 steps is going to be thinking about you, doesn't even notice that you're there, you
Oh my
know?
gosh, exactly.
How often do you see that play out, and how often do you talk about that with like people that are coming in to talk to you, like and vent to you and get therapy?
One of the things that I have said to clients over the years, and I'll say it like pretty bluntly, I'll be like, in the nicest way possible, like, you are not special or unique.
Yeah.
Like, and in that, I mean, and I'll say this to people who are like afraid to even come in and try CrossFit, right? Because they're like embarrassed, or I'll be like, human beings are narcissistic at their core. They only really are thinking about themselves.
It's
So
about me.
it's about me. If those people don't care what you're doing working out. And if they do,
Yeah.
like, whatever, like that, but like mostly like people are just there to think about themselves and get their workout in and think about what they have going on later and what they're going to have to cook for dinner.
Uh-huh.
So,
At the very worst, when someone, if you're nervous to go to the gym, the people that you need to worry about are the people that are outside of the door, right? Like, and you probably will be able to just walk right by them. The people that are going to sweat next to you, they're there for the same reason and probably have the same feelings as you, that they could be the fittest person in the gym and they could be thinking like, oh my God, that unfit person that's nervous back there, they might be judging me. Like all of those people have those same feelings. It's so funny how that happens, especially in a CrossFit gym.
yeah, and that's, I mean, when we do move, like, that's a lot of like the identity like stuff that I've been like really dealing with inside the gym.
Hell
Uh,
yeah, this is a perfect time to like segue into that. Like CrossFit Open back at Raid over there. I know Justin was talking about getting that going on. That is an anxiety-filled 3 weeks. Used to be 5 weeks for a lot of people. It induces a lot of emotions going on. How was the Open for you? How was this year any different? I know that used to push and try to be really competitive, and you're on a transformative journey, like still trying to move while not being in that space anymore. Tell us about like your open experience.
Yeah, I mean, I looked back at 2018 in my placing because that was when like regionals were still a thing, and that was like what I was someone who could have gone to regionals. Like if I had kept training the way that I was, and if regionals continued, like I could have maybe gotten there at that point in my life. And that's really hard to reconcile with in seeing where I am now. I'm really glad that it's not 5 weeks anymore. My God.
Oh,
But we have such a great community of people at so many different fitness levels. At this point, like our community has grown a lot in the last couple of years, and it's been really amazing. But it's been really hard because a lot of the people who are new don't know me in the capacity that I used to be.
mm,
And so, and like I'm not coaching as much either. So like I don't get a lot of FaceTime at the gym when a lot of people are there. A lot of our classes are in the evenings and afternoons, and that's mostly when I'm seeing clients. Like that's prime time for me. Uh,
right.
so the open was really fun because I got to see a lot of people that I don't get to see on a regular basis. The first 2 weeks were really hard because they did not have a lot of skill or like heavy weight. And
Uh-huh.
that is where I separate myself right now. My endurance is not where it used to be because I'm not training 3.5 hours a day.
But you've kept the skills from your years of work.
I've kept the skills and I've kept the strength from my years of work. And like, and then the third week I got really sick and I
Oh,
couldn't be there. I didn't work out for an entire week. I went in on Monday. Bar muscle ups used to be a movement that I felt very, very good doing. I got 5 of them and I was like happy with that. But then I like couldn't breathe when I finished and I started hyperventilating. And then all I could think about was like who I used to be and
mm,
what she would have done. Um, and that's not my priority now, but I do miss being good at it because it was fun.
mm,
And I miss being good at it because as we said before, like I'm a triple fire sign. Like I like attention and I like being a model for someone. Like I want someone to say, like, she can do it, I can do it. Um, and I also really miss how my body looked.
right.
And and I miss the attention I used to get from my body, which is like a whole other issue of someone recovering from an eating disorder is like how often people used to comment on my arms, and my arms are like a trouble point for me now, like just in general. And it's like, it really messes with me because I'm doing a lot of work fighting against what beauty standards are and what we've been fed is beautiful versus like enjoying what my fit body could do and the attention it got.
Yeah. And do you feel that you struggle sometimes with, okay, there could be two sides of me and they're both okay? Like I can both want to look good and get joy out of that while also not putting all of my chips in that cup, like that's such a hard thing to go through because like beauty standard shouldn't be the only standard we judge people on, but people should also be able to like draw joy from that.
Yeah, and it so that's hard because I'm working on that and then I have to deal with like I work with a lot of women who are also like in recovery from some sort of disordered eating because a lot of women in our generation that's just where we are. Um and so pushing back against like well this is why there are so many reasons why they want us to worry about our bodies. It's so that
Uh-huh.
aren't worrying about other more important things. It's so that we are pleasurable to what they would like to see. It's so, and also like wanting your body to look a certain way, like is your prerogative,
Uh-huh.
right? But, and so like, I have this conversation with Justin a lot is like, I don't want to give into these body standards, but I also liked the things my body could do. And so it's focusing on like, okay, well, what movement brings joy right now? Like,
Mm.
is that what movement like, and sometimes that's just going for a walk and sometimes
Yeah.
that's stretching. But for me, like it ties so much in like more with my mental health is like, and also like my love for competing.
Mm.
Like it's
I,
fun.
has there been any like thoughts in the head? It's like, okay, is there a medium between these two where I don't have to go full back to competitive, Melanie, but I can do like, all right, maybe it's add this to my diet, add this extra 15 minutes here and there. Is there any thoughts of like that?
Yeah. And that is like the hardest struggle is like, I would like to find a good balance in between. I would like to feel better in my body. Right now, I'm dealing with a lot of like chronic pain, probably from years of not taking care of myself and overtraining.
Yeah. Yeah. Going super hard.
But that's where like with my eating disorder, I have to be really careful. Like
Mm,
tracking macros really worked for me when it worked for me because I had the time and energy to do it. And also like I missed a lot of things. You know, I
yeah.
didn't go to a lot of events because I wanted.
Sacrifice.
Mhm. And so now that we are like our kitchen is almost renovated and we are trying like I really want to get onto a place where it's like I'm eating consistently because that's something I struggle with. I'm eating consistently foods that make me feel good. I'm eating enough because I won't eat enough throughout the day, and then at night I'm hungry. Um,
Yeah.
and like just getting like consistent movement in.
On the eating enough topic, I can't count on both hands the amount of like young women and like women in general that I've talked to that have told me they've got prescribed by, I shouldn't say prescribed because it's not a doctor, some nutrition coach, you should eat 1,200 calories. And I'm like, that's what a child should eat. Yes, a calorie deficit is the main principle that you can lose weight, but that is not anywhere near what you need to sustain your body in a healthy manner. So let me
Right.
just tell you that. And if you're going to undereat that much, that means you're probably going to have a low protein diet,
Right.
because the protein dense things are usually the calorie dense things that allow you to get that higher calorie. And
Yeah.
people splurge too much on the other end also, but that's usually what it is. Most people are usually at most people that work out and have some sense of what it looks like to be healthy, they are usually at around a like 12 to 1,600 calorie diet, and they're lacking in protein because it's easier to get the carbs in.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
limit the fats down. It's easy to get the carbs in, and then they just don't have enough protein, and that's why they get stuck in a certain position. So, with all that right there, that was what 5 sentences I just said. It's super easy to get fixated on that when you are now have that at the forefront of your mind. You take it from okay, I want to focus maybe a 4 out of 10 on my diet till it becomes a 10 out of 10 super quick.
Super quick. And like ways that I used to manage that before were like weighing myself
Yeah,
often to for accountability and like, restricting here and there. And like, okay, like in order to lose weight, you have to restrict. But like for someone who has such a heavy disordered past with food, it's a slippery slope. And I haven't weighed myself in 2.5 years. I don't know what I weigh. And I have gained weight since then. I know I have because my clothes have changed. But
yeah.
like, it's one of those like healing and recovery is so important for me. And now how do I incorporate this into my life in a less I guess like consuming way?
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Um, One of the last things on the open that maybe I'm not willing to do all those things again, but I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and that is going to make me feel good. I don't
Yeah.
need to be that competitive CrossFit person anymore, but X, Y, and Z about me makes me feel good, and this is who I am.
And it is so hard. I think it is harder comparing myself to myself than it
Yeah,
ever is comparing myself to anyone else because I know I have the capacity.
right.
That's the worst part is like, well, then why can't I fucking do it?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a tough part. So like for you, like obviously you've already seen this in yourself, right? What are some of the ways that you are getting over like being upset or whatever feelings you're feeling about the open right now, and just who you used to be versus who you are right now? What are some ways that you're managing it?
I mean, the first thing is like, this is not my life. I am not getting paid to do this. Like, I am doing this because it is fun. I am doing this because it makes my body feel good, hopefully, most times. Um, And I'm doing it for the community aspect of it all, right? Like my job is very isolating. I really need those connections. And it is the easiest place to get them. And I've been doing it for 8 years with most of these people. So it's coming back to that. But like the biggest thing I found is I'm just so tired all the time.
Mhm.
I'm
Low
so
energy.
tired. I'm so tired, and I'm like, what's the point sometimes? Like, what's the point? You're never going to be that person you were before, so why you even? And it's just like that headspace that can be really, really, really hard to get out of.
Mm. Yeah, that just like that shadow self, that imposter
Oh,
syndrome that starts telling you like the what's the point thing is hitting the nail on the head. Like, why am I even doing this? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
Uh, it's all the ways that your brain can play tricks on you are so insane. You
yeah.
know.
And like my brain will do that in the middle of hard workouts.
Uh-huh.
Like I when we did the burpee over the dumbbell, the open workout. Literally, I was in my first round, and at one point, I like was like, "You just like don't have to do this. Like
Yeah,
you can just stop." I was like,
yeah,
"You can't." Like my brain was like arguing with itself. Like, no, you
yeah.
can't. People are watching you, and like
Uh-huh.
you'll know you could have done it. So it's like that.
That's a that battle is tough.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
battle is tough. I went through that same thing on the first workout and I let it beat me too. Like I was sick then and that's definitely not my style of workout,
Oh
especially
no.
not anymore. But like my judge was like, "Hey, you can push and finish," you know, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna do that. You don't need to cheer me on to do that." But in the second workout, I will say that I pushed hard to get to like to make myself proud, you know. And I didn't
Yeah.
have the best score. A lot of my friends beat me, but I was happy with it because I pushed what was my pushing level, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And well, in that workout itself, like the first workout, not my style of workout. The second one, definitely more my style.
Long,
And
right?
a little bit longer. I'm really good at pacing.
Mm,
At this point in my life, I've been doing it long enough. And so like I know that if I just like don't look, like I can't look. And I have, Jess Ryan, who's like now judged me every open workout probably since 2018 because
hell yeah.
she knows how to like tell me to like don't look at them, stay in
Yeah.
your lane, like you gotta. And that it did benefit me at the end. Like I passed a couple of people just because I kept to my own
I love
pace.
it. I love it.
But it's still hard because you're like, I can go faster. Like
Yeah. Dude, that internal battle is the toughest one you'll ever fight, you know. Yeah, because that opponent's never going away.
no, no.
Oh man. So Melanie, at the end here, wait, actually one last question about that. Do you put yourself in the stress of signing up for the CrossFit Open?
I used to really, really, really hate it. Like I used to be around a lot of people who were a lot more competitive and like not as great for my mental health. Um, and like now it's just like, well, I gotta do it because I'm a coach and because like it's a community thing.
Yeah.
Not so much for like, let's see where I place anymore. Like that's not the fun part for me anymore.
Yeah. Hell yeah, I
So
feel that. Does the leaderboard give like a trigger like the scale, or do you not even look at it?
I honestly like just haven't looked at it much.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, it's wild because I still really enjoy like watching like the Rogue Invitational and the CrossFit Games. And like I still, I'm still invested in certain athletes and stuff, but it's just like the Open also at this point, honestly, like isn't that much fun at the elite level because
no, it's not.
there's not much happening
It's not.
and like the
Tia,
workouts aren't exciting to watch people who are at that level do them.
Tia and Brooke made it through. They didn't even do any muscle ups in that last workout. We had an athlete here. She got one round of the second workout. She still made it through quarterfinals. You know, it's just not
Right.
super exciting. You know, I totally
Yeah.
get that. But overall, CrossFit, like something you were just saying, like there is bigger storylines going on now, like because there's more media around, people are like telling like how they're in it and stuff. And I think you're a little similar to me. I like stuff like that. Like I like hearing about people and all the stuff behind the scenes. So
Oh yeah, I mean, gossip is the main reason I became a therapist.
yeah, yeah.
Love hearing gossip. So like, yes, I want to know.
Yeah, like all the stuff about the people. Um, All right, Mel, this has been a great episode. Tell us at the end here with you being on to new things. What are you hungry for right now?
Hmm. What I'm hungry for right now is getting to a place financially and like mentally where I can get another pug, a sibling for Oscar, and
We
then
love we
also
love dog goals. That's we have that one right now too in my relationship.
dog goals is it, right? And then what I'm really hungry for is I would really like to be in Italy drinking wine and eating cheese. And
Oof.
that is our goal for this year, is to save up enough money to take like a food tour in Italy. Because like food is, and cooking and all of that is very important in my relationship. And like that is really what we want to do.
I
So
love it. I
yeah.
love it. You know, a person that we have in common, Aaliyah Miller, right? She always talks to me and my girlfriend because we post like us going out to dinner all the time. She wants
Yeah.
to come home to PA and go on a food tour, right? Of all the best places. I'll have to get you and Justin in on that
Oh
if
my
she ever
God.
comes back home.
So in on it. Aaliyah,
Uh,
come home. We miss you.
I'm telling you, like, we want you to make the games this year, so maybe it's in the fall,
Yeah.
but after that, in the fall, let's go. Food tour.
In the fall, Philly is beautiful. Like
Hell yeah.
we can do a taco tour. We could whatever. We can take different neighborhoods. Have you ever
Hell
been to
yeah.
that what is it, Dim Dim or Bing Bang? Dim
Where
Sum?
where where
Bing
is
Bang
it?
Dim Sum in South Philly.
Oh,
Oh my God, Taylor, you have to go.
I'm gonna put that on the list right now. Julie and I have like one of those shared DMs where you can share
Yeah.
all the stuff into. Yeah, I'll put that in there right
Yeah.
now.
I love that you're a foodie. We
Yeah.
gotta talk more about it.
Oh my God. And she really made me into more of one. I was always like that person that was like, I'll try whatever your dish is on the menu that you have, like even if it's weird, stuff like that. Like out in Conchi, this place got the $100 burger. It was crappy, but it's
Oh,
whatever.
that sucks.
And then Julia takes me, she's opened up my food palette a lot more, because she is like Korean born. So her coming here, she has tuned into all the Korean places and the Asian food
Oh,
places that are more authentic, and she's always taking me to those places. She took me to a hot pot place for the first time, like where you cook the food. That meat was so good. It was so
we have
different.
one of
Yeah.
those in Northeast Philly that apparently is really good that we've been wanting to go to.
Yeah, just go check it out if you've never been there. It is one of those places where you cook your own food, but it's still really good, you know.
It's
Um,
interactive and fun.
yeah, that's why we go too. It makes the date like a little bit more fun too.
Yeah,
You got to keep that relationship spark going on. You know.
absolutely.
All right, Melanie, this has been a great episode. Thanks for coming on and talking with us again.
Thanks for having me. It's always great
Peace.
talking to you.